Rehabilitation Center as well as the Family Assistance Center. But they're just two locations for families to get resources and help.
And Steph, could you talk a little bit earlier? I was really interested in what you were saying about how some of the families are able to working through the pandemic day in and day out, and now they are dealing with this. And my heart goes out to the CTA family and to all of our essential workers who are struggling right now, and now even more so.
Absolutely. I mean, this apparent workplace shooting aside, they just deal with threat levels that have been escalating throughout the pandemic, not only from a health standpoint, but I had mentioned that my own cousin drives from Muni,
right? And
he has noticed that there are a lot more people who, will get on the bus and are hostile or will say things. And as a driver, you're always worried. And they have put themselves on the front line. And the fact that overall violence has been up and gun violence has been up, certainly especially since people started moving about again and opening up, and that is a real threat. So to all those folks who work on the front lines in positions where they are putting themselves out so we can get to where we need to go, so we can be healthy or our needs can be met, thank you. Thank you, and we've got to do something to protect you.
Absolutely. I saw a tweet of someone saying, if you take public transit today, thank your transit workers.
Yeah.
Give them a elbow bump and give them a smile, because they certainly deserve it. Kristen, there's something I want to bring up that I think is really interesting, and that is, as we talk about, obviously, we have our IT reporter, Dan Noyes, digging into what we know about the subject.
Yes, but is the threshold, you can own a gun unless it can be determined that you could become a mass shooter? I mean, there are just so many questions being asked, and the thing is, people's responses cover the entire spectrum, right? And so this debate is hard. But I will say we are just getting word that Governor Newsom is now in San Jose. We mentioned that he was coming here, that he was likely going to join the next briefing at 1:30 with local law enforcement and officials. And so he is currently getting briefed by both labor and law enforcement on the mass shooting right now. And we do expect to hear from him in not too long.
Exactly. And as we've been saying over the course of the past few hours that you've been on the air, that Governor Newsom actually did have a planned press conference at 2 o'clock down in Los Angeles, where he was going to announce new incentives to get people to get vaccinated ahead of our June 15th reopening. He then canceled that press conference and now quickly made his way up, framing the recall election as a right-wing power grab. And he will say that these are folks who want to take California in a direction that the majority of Californians don't want to go. And so he will absolutely, I think this is obviously a very sensitive topic here, but I think that to that point, we see the poll numbers. I'm actually bringing up a poll that came out today, another PPIC survey, not about gun control, but about Governor Newsom, that shows among likely voters, actually right now, 55% approve of Governor Newsom, 35% disapprove. Among party lines, again, a big shift, 77% of Democrats approve, 20% or 16%, 20% disapprove, excuse me, I think, or no, 76% of Republicans disapprove. So again, I think this is just something we're going to see down party lines, but I do think it will be, he'll be able to say, I support Republican wins, that we might not get that.
He's going to be able to say things that his Republican challengers won't be able to, because, what people point out is that sometimes you have Republican, especially here in California, they'll bring up the thoughts and prayers, which is right now you're looking at Sky 7, picture of his home there. Angmar Court, where it's still swarming with law enforcement because they're not done yet. In fact, our Laura Anthony just tweeted out that they've been ordered back 300 feet from the home of the alleged shooter, Sam Cassidy, court about an hour ago, after hours of letting people stay. So not sure if it's due to something they discovered in that home. That
to one woman just a few moments ago, actually, she was told that law enforcement has not finished notifying all the victims' families, and she could not confirm or get any confirmation whether her husband was one of the 8 victims. So right now, her life, she dropped the phone so he could barely make out what she was saying, but she told him, I got to go, I'm running for my life, and she wasn't able to call. come into the building. They're going to be here all day. And I did want to mention the Red Cross Silicon Valley chapter. They have a family assistance center that is now open to loved ones. It's on North First Street here in San Jose, and they're going to have both grief counselors as well as evicting compensation insurance, things like that, so they can kind of sort through some of the details about how to move forward. But ultimately, we know we're expecting an update here shortly. These families you can't see, but there are some still here waiting on the sidewalk, waiting to get any kind of update. And our hearts go out to every person involved in this tragedy. We're live in San Jose. Stephanie Sierra, ABC 7 News.
Wait, go ahead, Liz.
Oh, go ahead, Kristen.
Oh, thank you. I just want a clarification on, so the reunification center is where, if you will, where people will go first. And once they are reunited, find out what is the situation with their family member, then they can go over to the Family Assistance Center for further services and support. Is that right, Stephanie?
Yes. So right now, the reunification center is set up so they can get any kind of clarity about the status of their loved one, the condition of their loved one, and certainly be recommended on where to go next. Now, this family assistance center, we're told, is to sort out some more details, and that's where the grief counselors will be meeting with families. They also have they've brought in water and snacks and other county services about 30 minutes ago. So there are grief counselors both here at the reunification center as well as the family assistance center. But they're just two locations for families to get resources and help.
And Steph, could you talk a little bit earlier? I was really interested in what you were saying about how some of the families are able to use Find My iPhone tracking to kind of feel and figure out maybe where their loved one is.
Yes, Liz, this was the brother and nephew of a VTA employee. They had confirmation he was working this morning. He was on facility grounds, and they got word of the shooting right around 7 o'clock. And they were using, once they got here, to Find My iPhone, and they could see that flashing dot on their phone. They could see his phone just right across the street from us. It was not moving, but it signaled it was on. And so it was, incredibly hard for them to see that and not be able to reach him. But it's stories like that we're seeing and we're hearing, across the board here. It's truly heartbreaking.
It really is. When you say across the street, do you mean at the VTA yard, at the location of the shooting, or at a reunification site?
Correct. Exactly. Yeah. I can clarify that for certainly. We're at the county administration building. This is the reunification center. This is off heading at the corner of San Pedro Street. So we're right across the street from where this all took place. Okay. The VTA facility, in the park there, and we're told his phone was on the facility grounds. They couldn't identify whether it was in the building, the operations center, or if it was just somewhere on the facility grounds. But they certainly could see it, and it was signaling it was active. So I will say our colleague Julian Glover has been trying to reach the VTA union president, and he had called him several times this morning and texted him. It showed delivered, and I was just texting with him a few moments ago, and we were both, describing it's just a chilling feeling. He works with him pretty closely, and he couldn't get a hold of him. But again, his phone signaled that he can receive text. So in some cases, it's just a waiting time period right now, and it's arguably one of the hardest parts.
Absolutely. As Stephanie pointed out, the Family Assistance Center is now open, has been for the past hour. That is at 2731 North First Street in San Jose. 2731 North First Street, and there people can get mental health counseling, grief counseling, victim compensation assistance, other information on family reunification, and what's available in terms of help to victims and their families. But Liz, that sinking feeling when you're just waiting for that, please text me back and let me know you're okay. Or when you use a
Transportation Authority facility in San Jose, California. Multiple people there are injured. The Santa Clara Sheriff's Office, though, has confirmed the suspected shooter is down and the incident has been contained. They're now holding a press conference. Let's listen.
West Younger Avenue, VTA Control Center, a Valley Transportation Authority Control Center. It is a hub that stores multiple VTA trains and maintenance yard as well. Multiple deputies, including surrounding law enforcement agencies,